In 2017, exploding home prices in the Denver metro area forced budget cuts to fire departments all across the state. To understand why, we need to understand how local fire districts are funded. Let's use an example. A Boulder County homeowner's property taxes are divided 55% for the school district, 40% for the city and county, and about 5% goes to special districts like fire protection and ambulance. All revenue generated from property taxes stays within the district. In 1982, voters approved an amendment to the Constitution that changed the way homes were appraised. It also required that the amount of property taxes collected from homes statewide could never account for more than roughly 45% of total property tax collections. The amendment means that the remaining 55% of property taxes must come from non-residential property. This constitutional provision is known as the Gallagher Amendment. Gallagher also dictated the assessment rate for all property. What's the assessment rate? It's the percent of a property's value that is subject to taxation. For example, if you have a $500,000 home and the assessment rate is 7.2%, you only pay property taxes on $36,000 of the home's value. That assessed value gets multiplied by your locally approved mills. Gallagher set the assessment rate on all non-residential property at 29%. That set rate means that the assessment rate for residential property must fluctuate to maintain that roughly 45 to 55 ratio. When Gallagher was added to the Constitution, the residential assessment rate was 21%. With ever-rising residential property values, the assessment rate on homes had to be lowered. It fell to 18%, then 16%, then 15%. It hit 10.36% in 1995. Then it fell to 7.96% in 2003. In 2017, it dropped again to 7.2%. We can see the budget cuts that resulted when Gallagher forced the rates to drop in 2017. That's roughly a 10% drop in the rate. This hurt different parts of Colorado in different ways. In the areas of the state that didn't experience 10% growth in home values, property taxes fell and the local governments collected less tax revenue. More than a quarter of Colorado's fire protection districts collected less property tax in 2017 than they did in the previous year. Even fire districts that saw growth in taxable property value are facing budget cuts. Take a look at Rocky Mountain Fire Protection District in Boulder County, who has above the average share of its property in housing property. They are disproportionately hit by the drop in the residential assessment rate. Boulder County saw a 24% growth in housing values. That should mean bigger budgets for its fire departments, but because of the Gallagher drop, the fire district only netted an 8% increase in property taxes between 2016 and 2017. While this increase wasn't proportionate to growth in housing values, it was still enough to maintain the current service levels for the next 5 years. Unfortunately, even the best-funded fire districts can't continue to sustain their current level of service or address the demands of rapid growth with a reduction in the assessment rate associated with the Gallagher Amendment. Unlike schools, which get more money from the state budget if their local revenue falls, fire districts don't get help from the state. They are totally dependent on local sources. Unfortunately, this problem is likely to get worse in the coming years. Because residential property value increases continue to outpace non-residential value growth statewide, Gallagher will cause yet another, even bigger drop in property tax collections in 2020 and beyond. Current estimates suggest a 15% reduction in the assessment rate on homes to 6.1% in 2019. That drop will reduce Rocky Mountain Fire Protection District's revenues by nearly $1 million annually. This leaves fire districts with few options. Either ask for additional revenues or reduce services through layoffs and station closures. We need your help to maintain adequate funds and to overcome the impacts of Gallagher. This video was brought to you by the Colorado Fiscal Institute with support from the Rocky Mountain Fire Protection District.